Hi, welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. It seems it's not just the Conservatives that are suffering and not just the SNP that are suffering with falling support. Surprisingly, and out of the blue, so are Labour. They've dropped by 2% in the last few days. Where's this come from? What's caused it? Well, Professor Sir John Curtice has chipped up. Now, we all know he's slightly biased towards the left, towards Scottish independence and all these sort of things. However, he's come up and he has sort of analysed the numbers. And he's saying why he thinks the Labour Party are losing support as well. He also says that, there's a lot of problems in British politics and that all these new parties, these challenging parties as they call them, are having a major effect. So we'll take a look at what Curtice is saying, see what his analysis is and see why. All is not entirely plain sailing for Labour. Don't get me wrong, they're still expected to get a huge majority. It's just maybe not as huge. But we should wait and see. Let's take a look and see what he says. Here goes. So Sir John Curtice issues warning to Keir Starmer as Labour drops in the latest polls. Now, apparently the narrative has changed because it was always Labour growing and growing and growing. The momentum is with Labour and everyone else was falling continually behind, especially the Tories, to such a point, of course, that even Reform are now ahead of the Tories. And I had a conversation over the weekend with people who, man jack of them, every single one of them were Tory voters. Every single one of them, without fail, are going to vote Reform. And I suspect there's groups and people up and down the country like this. I think the Tories are undergoing an existential crisis and it is serious. But that's another video for another day. Anyway, the polling guru warned that while Reform was damaging the Conservative vote, the Greens and Lib Dems were similarly squeezing Labour. How anyone can look at the Greens and see them as a serious party that can sort out the problems of this country, I have no idea. Because everything the Greens want to do would actually damage the economy without fail. So the people who support the Greens are quite literally the enemy within. You know, they want to destroy everything we want in this country. They're weird people. But anyway. And, well, I've always maintained, of course, the Lib Dems are actually further left than Labour, but they try to fly the neutral flag, which doesn't wash. You look at their policies and they are also quite Marxist almost. Anyway, so Keir Starmer's Labour Party slipped the same number of points as the Conservatives this week. This is according to Sir John Curtice. While several headlines discussed the electoral extinction of the Tories, the polling guru said that both Labour and the Tories fell by 2 points on his poll of polls. Now he looks at this, he crunches the numbers. He's an expert. Everyone accepts his analysis. Nobody ever questions it because he's been proved to be accurate. Very accurate. Over time. So he does have that pedigree, if you will. The professor of politics at the University of Strathclyde told the BBC that Labour's support fell from 43 to 41%. In a warning sign that support may be starting to slip for Labour ahead of the July the 4th vote. Sir John explained Labour did not have had it all their own way this week. What kind of English be that? Anyway, he says, like the Conservatives, their support is also down by 2 points. Labour are being challenged by the Greens, who are on 6%, and the Lib Dems, who are up on every poll this week and stand at 12%. It's enough, maybe, that it may deny a Labour seat here and there. Bit of luck. Don't want too big a majority. It's dangerous, I think, for democracy to have too big a majority. Think they can get away with anything, and then they will. He says, Sir John said that Labour could be squeezed from the left ahead of the vote. Now, these things happen. These things do. They get changes. Things changing all the time. I'm going to suggest one of the major changes is that people are starting to realise that Angela Rayner is going to be your next Prime Minister. Keir Starmer, Mr. Wishy-Washy, Mr. the nice face of Labour, in order to get him posted because he's reasonable kind of thing. They get in, there'll be a coup d'etat, bang, he's gone. Angela Ranger is in, and you're going to have a hard left Marxist government in this country with a large majority, and they are going to do everything they can to destroy this country from within. Just as the rest of Europe are moving to the right, for some reason, the people of this country think, let's go to the left because that's bound to be better. It never is. It never is. Excuse me. In their manifesto launched this week, the Green Party made it clear it aims to put pressure on a future Labour government, with NHS, housing and climate at the forefront of its pitch. Sean Berry, Sean Berry, the party's candidate in Brighton Pavilion, said it's a strategy to demonstrate how we will challenge Labour in Parliament as well. You won't challenge Labour. There's two of you at most. You might get one, might get two. No more. Don't you challenge. Sod off. Try to fill bigger boots than you've got there. Kelly Beaver, not saying a word, boss of the polling firm Ipsos, noted that a sizable chunk of voters who are considering backing Labour but not yet committed say they would think about the Green Party. Currently, 25%, I think it is, or thereabouts, of voters in Britain are still undecided. That's enough alone to win the election. You know, if you can convince that 25% to go one way or the other, that's an election-winning number. That's how big it is, you know. Anyway, Lib Dems have vowed this week to push a Labour government to adopt more radical policies on tax, welfare and bringing Britain closer to the EU. So more radical policies on tax means putting tax up. Welfare means putting tax up because you've got to pay for it. And bringing Britain closer to the EU means giving up our sovereignty so it can be ruled by an unelected commission over which we cannot remove them from office no matter how bad they get. Good move. Despite the pressure from the left, Labour's lead is still far ahead of the Tories, who sit on just 20%. Sir John said Conservative support is now at the lowest ever in British polling history. And it's going to get worse. It is unbelievably bad. And the longer you have Rishi Sunak leading the Tories, the worse it's going to get. When you've got a little man who does not like this country, who doesn't understand this country, and whose idea of poverty is going several days without Sky TV, you really know that this man is so out of touch with the vast, vast, vast majority. He's not even a 1%er. He's a 1% of the 1%ers. What on earth does he know about struggles, hunger, not being able to pay bills, worried about having a roof over your head for your kids? You know, this guy's got no chance, has he? Round off here. A new surveyation poll published by the Sunday Telegraph suggested that the Conservatives could end up with just 72 seats, which is up from where it was. And the poll claimed that voters would hand Labour 456 seats, a majority of 262, which would destroy this country, but not for long. It would just be this country would just break up. It would just become third world because this man hasn't got a clue and hates England, as we pointed out. Anyway, I'm going to carry on off and we'll come up. Just imagine all these young people today. They're going to grow up in a Labour government, certainly for the next 10 years, perhaps. So, you think your 6, 7-year-olds today will be going to work and entering the work after all this time of growing up through Labour, and work will be hard. And they'll sit there and go, and then the Tories will get in and it'll still be hard. And they'll go, yeah, but it's really hard with the Tories, but it won't be. It'll be really hard under Labour. It'll be Labour that have destroyed the country and meant you've got no jobs. Meant the economy's collapsed. Meant you can't upgrade and pay for social services because all the billionaires have left, taking their tax money with them. Because don't forget, when you start taxing billionaires more, you don't just lose the extra that you're trying to tax them. You lose everything up to that extra as well because they've left. And it happens. And we've seen it happen time and time again. And people are already taking money out of their pensions because he wants to go after their pension money. And I mentioned this in an earlier video. People are going to start selling houses and get rid of them because they don't want to pay the the capital gains tax. It's just a joke. When you tax people high, like Labour always do, money runs. Every time. Without fail. It's going to happen again. Anyway, let me know what you think. Thanks very much. Speak soon. Goodbye.